All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again here tonight to Virtual Racing Network as we're here with the RACECORE Truck Series. It is set to be another great race. We got 16 drivers left to go. We got 19 and a half roughly minutes left before we get to qualifying. But before we get to all of that, as always, we have to go through all the sponsors and make this possible. As you're watching a bit of a practice going on there, a little pit party going on, we want to thank all the sponsors for coming on here for this season, including Global Building Contractors as a general sponsor here for this series. iRacing Drivers World. If you have any comments, questions, pictures, videos, whatever it happens to be, head on over to iRacing Drivers World and join that group, and you can post those there and get comments from other iRacers. And the presenting sponsor here for tonight's race and this series, that is Leo's Coney Island out of Rochester Hills. If you're in the area, make sure you stop by and get you something to eat and drink while you're there, and let them know you heard about it here on Virtual Racing Network for the RACECORE race. On the broadcast side of things, there are a lot of partners we have here, and we're proud to support them as much as they support us. And starting, as always, with Walls Beard Co. Beard Balm. If you have a beard, gentlemen, you need to take care of it, and there is only one good way to do that, and that is with some Beard Balm from Walls Beard Co. All natural and organic products and different scents to pick from as well. So to get that product, head over to wallsbeardco.com and pick it up. SimSpeedShop.com, your one-stop shop for custom-made button boxes and e-brakes for you rallycross racers. So make sure if you are an iRacer, you head on over to that website. You're definitely going to want to pick one or both of these items up to further your iRacing career. That is SimSpeedShop.com. Northwest Racing Series, we have started back again covering their series, and we'll be there till the end of this one and for the foreseeable future as they keep letting us come back. So make sure you tune in here to Virtual Racing Network on Monday and Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we will be broadcasting their stuff, and they are also the official one-to-go sponsor here for tonight's race. iBog, iRacing Broadcast Overlay Graphics, your sim race broadcast graphic source. If you're looking to get into broadcasting or just need some overlays for streaming on iRacing, go to ibog.co and get a hold of Jason Allison. Ohio IndyCar League. If you're looking to join an IndyCar racing league here on iRacing, there is no better place to do so than Ohio IndyCar League. You can get all the latest information on that league at facebook.com/Ohio IndyCar League. And of course, last but not least, we'll be talking to a driver here in just a little bit for a pre-race interview presented by Randy's Wraps. If you have a iRacing account and you race at all, you're going to need a paint job to make yourself stand out from the crowd. You can do so by going to Facebook and looking up Randy's Wraps. Get you a really nice paint job for a really great price. That being said, we need to introduce our second chair here for tonight's race, and that is, of course, as we keep calling him, the one and only, the professional champion, Jeff Stabnell. Welcome back to the booth.
Thanks, Charles, but I think if there's a professional here, it's you. I'm looking at the quality of that broadcast you're pumping out on that new machine there, and man, we got some pretty good graphics going on here tonight, so I think we're going to have to up our game here a little bit just to try to keep pace with that.
Yeah, we may have to dumb it down because we keep pumping better graphics, and then they expect us to be as good too. So we'll definitely have to step up our game, or either dumb down the quality of the stream. One of the two is going to happen. I think we'll step up a game even more than we already have. But this is going to be a fun race, I think. We got 17 drivers here, and this is not just any track. It's Martinsville, so it's going to be very interesting. We have already heard from some of the drivers that this is a very loose setup.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, these guys had some problems. We had the iRacing update yesterday and another one today, and iRacing setup either was broken for this or they didn't have one, so they had to contact iRacing and get a setup. And what we're hearing here is that this setup's real loose, which on a track like Martinsville, we know loose is fast, but a loose setup here, it's going to make for some difficult racing. And there's probably going to be a few guys that really struggle with a loose setup.
Yeah, I definitely think so. As we see more guys going around, I see a lot of tire marks on these turns. And, you're going to see that rubber build up, but there is a little bit of a difference in the rubber building up and looking here what you can see now on the screen, and that just the tire, those are skid marks, not just rubber being laid down. And we've seen a lot of that coming out of these corners. It's typical of Martinsville and really just any track for that matter. And I think we'll definitely see it here tonight, coming out of the corners, and here in particular with that curb there on the bottom. I think we're going to see some people hit that and possibly spin out. The question is how many people will, or will they keep it clean?
Yeah, Martinsville's such a tricky track, man. They call it the paperclip because it's shaped like a paperclip. It's a half-mile track, so it's not really that long, but you get wound up on those straightaways. And then all of a sudden you get into these super tight corners, man. And you talked about that curb. And if you hit that curb with your left side tires, and you're trying to run pretty darn close to it, right? You got to protect that inside. You got to get right down there on it. And if you clip that curb, the rear end will just come right around on you. It just gets that truck so loose, just upsets it. If you come in too hot, it pushes you right out towards the wall. It's real easy. If you brake too hard, it throws your splitter into the track and pushes you again right out into that outside lane. Or if there's a guy outside of you, into him. There's so much going on, and it looks like these guys got a little bit of a loose end condition too, which means they've got to be real careful with their braking, brake straight. Come in too hot, you're going to push out. Come in too slow, and you're going to get killed getting off the corner and down the straightaway. So easy coming off these corners. You get a little bit too much wheel into it when you hit that gas. And if that rear end's not hooked up, which we're hearing it's not really hooked up, again, it wants to come around. So you almost have to get that truck lined up straight as soon as you can exiting that corner before you stomp on that gas. And that's a lot to think about when you're turning, 20-second laps, 18-second laps. I'm not sure where we're at, 19-second laps. And you've got to do that twice a lap. So all that and figure out how to get around somebody.
Yeah, and it's going to be a quick night. It's 150 laps here. We'll go ahead and pull up that pre-race analyst here. It's 150 laps. That's only 75 miles at a half-mile track. So, it's rare that you see a track, because they don't run these little short tracks like this often, where you actually run more laps than you do miles. Usually we're at Daytona or a mile-and-a-half track where 150 miles is minimum 150 laps is minimum 150 miles or more, 187, 200 depending on how big the track is. But if you go by miles, it's half of the distance in laps. So it's going to be a very quick night, especially if we go caution free or low cautions. It's going to take very little time to finish this race.
Yeah, your point going off the top of my head, I think we've got Bristol, which, is another less than a mile track there that's completely different because of all the banking. Martinsville is the half-mile flat track. Maybe the closest to it would be Richmond at 3/4 of a mile, but that's even got more banking, and generally it's got more sweeping corners. So, Iowa again, another short under a mile track, but it's got more banking. So Martinsville really is kind of a unique track that we find on the majority of these circuits for the Xfinity cars and the trucks like they run here in this league. So usually it brings a couple different kind of driver up to the forefront. Although one of the drivers that seems to win on just about every kind of track, Mikey Neal, he was our winner here last time, but I think Brian Dorsey was it, or trying to remember now. We had a couple guys that were James Earl, I think, was pretty good the last time we were here. Why am I singing? Maybe it's Brandon Dorsett. I'd have to go look again. But yeah, there's maybe we'll be looking at some different drivers getting up front here tonight. Bryson Barker, somebody we usually look at on these short tracks. I don't think he's here. He looks like he logged into the session and then left. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, who can run this track well, because it is a totally unique and different way of running.
It definitely is. And while we're pulling that up here, and while we're talking, I'm going to pull up our point standings here. So we'll let those be on the screen for everyone to see there. As it looks like we got an issue going on with them there a little bit. Something's a little wrong, but they are there. We'll just have to work on that and try to tweak it. Something definitely went wrong, but still all the information is there. But what I want to talk about here for a minute while they're in a driver's meeting is the number 3 of Damian Leininger. He's sitting in second, or P2 right now here in practice, second fastest in practice. However, he is one of the 2 drivers receiving an EOL here tonight. So, second fastest in practice, but going to be starting from the back due to EOL from last race. So, I would be looking to see him, try to fight his way through this field.
That's so tough here. Track position is so tough at this track. It means so much at this track. It's hard to get around guys, especially when they're guarding that inside line. You pretty much got to beat them off. I mean, there's 2 ways to do it, right? You can try to dive bomb in there and outbreak them, which always looks easier in practice than it is really to do. That tends to end in a wreck a lot of times. Or you can beat them off the corner and try to establish position down the straight. And, if you got to come by 15, 16 cars, that takes a while. So that's going to be a big one to overcome for Damian Leininger.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, especially on a track like this where it's so short, it's going to make it even just amplify that difficultness to try to get by. Again, with this field, it's a tough field too on top of that. So it's going to be interesting to watch here. And I want to go over to chat real fast. A little late here. We I didn't see it until just now. Mike Neal wants to know what is the best way to stay out of an accident. Obviously, we have Huffy's computer who just died apparently. So his answer was not race. That is the best way, I think, to stay out of a wreck. On the track, however, I think it's going to be your best bet is to put yourself in good position, and we talk about it on the super speedway tracks, and I think it's going to apply here tonight, is situational awareness. You are going to have to be paying attention to everything around you the best you can, because if somebody gets loose or spins and 2-3 cars ahead of you, there's a good chance they're going to collect somebody else, and you need to be able to hit the brakes as quick as you can.
Well, I'm going to add to that, and it's going to be a little bit counterintuitive here, but I think you got to be aggressive at a track like this if you want to survive. And what I mean by that is you can't be passive out there, and because guys are going to get frustrated, and they're going to put you in bad positions if they even remotely think they can do it. You got to get down there. You got to protect that inside lane. You can't just kind of, do I take the inside or not? Do I have them cleared? Can I cut them off or not? I think you've got to be aggressive and protect your the line that you want to be running in, and not let guys get a nose in there to put you in a bad position.
Yeah, you definitely have to. It's sad to say this, but this is kind of the mentality of Martinsville and Bristol tracks like this. You have to take it. You can't wait for someone to give it to you or make a mistake. You have to get in there and take what you think is yours, and hopefully it is yours. Hopefully you don't force an issue that causes a wreck. But this is the type of track where you've got to get in there and put those chrome horns to use, and you don't want to wreck them, but you may have to give them a little nudge, or try to get in there and take their line away and hope that they don't come down on you anyway. You just have to be a little bit more aggressive.
Well, and then the other thing is some of it's out of your hands, right? And I'm gonna use the word rookie, but I don't mean rookie. I mean maybe inexperienced or new. But one of the common things at a short track like this, one of the more, when you're driving, what feels more natural is guys are slowing down for the corner, and you can get into the corner faster than them. So you want to drive it in faster and harder. And, the problem is you have to slow down so much to make the center of that corner, you can't get off the corner very well, and you lose all that speed down the straightaway. But when you see the gains that you're able to make driving it in the corner hard, it's easy to kind of convince yourself that that's the way you're going to make up ground. And if you get somebody behind you that's doing that, it is difficult I think you just got to keep your nerves because you're watching them dang near run you over in the middle of that corner every time because they're overdriving it in. Now you're killing them getting off the corner. You're pulling them by 4 or 5 trucks down the straightaway, but then they just sail it in even harder on the next corner. And I don't know how you avoid that other than just maybe get up front where the faster guys are up there and aren't doing that. So, I'm going to say run up front with the good guys is probably another way to avoid the wrecks.
I definitely agree with that. And it looks like the drivers' meeting is done here. So we'll pull a driver. There is someone we don't get to talk to very often. And he obviously is the one in control of that meeting. What do you say we pull Justin down here and talk to him real quick?
Yeah, I think we should do that. That works for me. Let me bounce down there, and you can entertain the troops while I see if he's available.
Alrighty. Well, while he's seeing if he's ready, we got just about 4 minutes left on the clock. We'll kind of go over here with him, his thoughts on this track, and what it went through to get here, as it has not been an easy road to get here. And it looks like we do have him here with us now. So, Justin, welcome to the booth here for the pre-race interview. And what are your thoughts on Martinsville? I know it's been a tough road to get here. It's been a long day, but we're finally here.
Yeah, here again. Track I hate racing. I get to race twice in this series. But, yeah, we're here.
Well, again, it's had to get an actual setup from iRacing today. The setup they gave us failed. So it's awesome that we actually got to get here. We were already ready to go regardless of what happened. But it's going to be a great race, I think. We talked about it a little bit here in the pre-race show. Staying clean is going to be a key. I know last race time we were here didn't end so well for you, but as long as nobody gets into you, do you think you have a pretty fast truck here?
I think I might be able to pull off a top 5. That last race when I got taken out, I was doing fine up to that point. And the guy who was behind me finished, I believe, in 3rd place. So, as long as I can keep my truck clearing and keep guys, from getting into the back end of me in the turns, I think it'll go all right. Oh, but like all races, Charles, my plan is to finish the race, not finish the race on pit road.
Well, definitely a good strategy. It's definitely to finish the race.
Much of a common thing as of late. I think I've been wrecked out of the last 2 races or something like that.
Well, definitely, hopefully, we hope you finish here. And, with any luck, we'll get to talk to you in the booth here in the post-race show. It's just about time for the National Anthem. Any quick shout-outs or sponsors you want to give?
Of course, Leo's Coney Island out of Rochester Hills, Michigan, Global Building Contractors, Lake Erie Entertainment, and iRacing Drivers World. We appreciate everything you guys do for RACECORE. Thank you for your support. And of course, we are in.
Yeah, definitely us. We're glad to be here. But that being said, it is time for the National Anthem where we honor our country. So we'll be right back here in just a few moments.
We take you down onto the track for our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Please remove your hats.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave and the home of the brave.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to go ahead and get down here. A bunch of drivers already out on the track. You have the 14 of Jameer Muhammad out there, and I expect to see good things from him. He, talked about how short tracks weren't necessarily his thing, but he always seems to do pretty good here.
Well, I think Jameer has definitely gotten a lot better at the short tracks as the season went along. Jameer's gotten a lot better at everything. We saw him kind of dominate intermediates and longer tracks after being good at them, but not dominant. And then he kind of started dominating those. We saw a road course performance that we didn't expect from him a couple of weeks ago there at Canadian Motorsports. And we've seen some good, strong performances on some short tracks from Jameer, too. So Jameer is just pretty much... all around, I'd say his strong suit is still the intermediates, but you can't count him out of anything. He can run road courses, super speedways, and the short tracks, too.
Yeah, and he was fast, but Mikey Neal taking it to the top with a 19.716 as William Edwards is going to take second with a fast time of 19.986. So right now, Mikey Neal is actually almost 0.3 faster than everyone on this track. Well, now it's 1/10 as Ryan Hedsgaard's going to take second.
Well, speaking of Mikey Neal, while we're watching these guys bring some times in here, I think Mikey and his dad, too, I believe they're down there in that Hurricane Florence area there. So a little worried about those guys. And, thoughts and prayers go out to you. And if I got it wrong, that's a good thing. But wanted to get that out there sometime before the race was over there, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. I know he said something about a hurricane warning in chat, and that is never good. Hopefully everything is safe. We've got a couple of people that are in the eye of this storm here, if they are as well. I know tomorrow night our normal second chair, Randy, is in the eye of this, so he may not be having to be able to help us for Upper Edge, as he is having to work late, obviously, to prepare for this thing and get ready. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to be affected by this. Hopefully, dummies down or whatever before it hits landfall, but it's not looking pretty good.
I don't know what they've got any recent updates, but they're talking about North and South Carolina being right in the crosshairs, and this thing's huge. So anybody that's in the path of that, I know we got some guys in the league here that are, and probably some guys in chat. So, our thoughts and prayers are definitely with you.
It definitely are. As James Morgan out on the track right now, and again, also Tony Rice out on the track now. We got his new driver photo, but we figured out the issue why it wasn't loading into the overlays, but just didn't have the time to get it in. So Tony, if you're tuning in watching this afterwards, we have figured out the situation, and we will be getting that in there. But right now he is not put in a time. However, James Morgan did put in the 8th place time with a 20.247.
Yeah, and going back, James Larillo there at second place. I did try to bring him up there a little bit before we got to the national anthem. James Larillo and I think Dan Butler was the other name that I was trying to remember. Those two had very strong runs the last time we were at Martinsville, along with Jameer Muhammad. So a couple guys to keep an eye out on. I see they're both kind of qualifying, or all of those guys have qualified up in the upper half here. So, James Larillo, Dan Butler, Mikey Neal obviously won this race last time, so we know he's fast.
Yeah, and again, for the ones that haven't qualified, as we have 23 seconds left, Damian Leininger, he got the EOL. Matthew Ellis Brian Dorsey, Brian Bissell, Brandon Dorsett, and Bryson Barker have not qualified. We'll see if they do. Brian Jones, the other driver with the EOL. So Damian Leininger and Brian Jones with the EOLs here tonight. Everyone else just opting not to qualify.
Yeah, and I don't know if Bryson Barker came back in the session or not. If he's in here, he's a threat to win this thing.
He definitely could be a threat. And it looks like we got about, I would say, 17, 18 drivers here. As we'll get a count here. But we're going to go up to the front of this field as Mikey Neal is going to be your pole sitter here. And Jeff, you want to run through our first 4 rows, 8 drivers, and then I will bring us home.
Yeah, absolutely. On the pole, in P1, the number 8 car, Mikey Justified Neal. Outside, front row, the 13 truck of James Lorello. In row 2, we've got the 23 of Ryan Hesgard. And outside him, we've got the 75 of William Edwards. In row 3, we've got the 14 of Jameer Mohammed and the 21 of Dan Butler. In row 4, starting in P7, we've got the 99 of Justin Starr. And rounding out our top 8 is the 12 of James Morgan.
In row 5, in 9th place, is going to be the 36 of Salvatore De Janeiro and the 64 of Tony Rice. In 10th place, row 6 is going to be the 84 of Bryson Barker and the 45 of Brian Jones, and he will be getting the EOL. Row 7 is going to be the 5 of Brandon Dorsett and the 28 of Brian Bizzle. Row 8 is going to be the 9 of Brian Dorsey and the 3 of Damian Leininger, again getting an EOL here for this start of this race. And rounding out the field here tonight is going to be Matthew Ellis in the number 6 machine. And that will do it here for the Walls Beard Co. starting grid. And I expect to see, as always, some great racing here as we are just about 1 lap. Just like that, we completed 1 lap under pacing here. Just imagine how fast they're going to go once we get this green flag.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's going to feel fast in there, too, when you're reaching speeds of about 140 miles an hour down these straightaway and then braking all the way down to about 65 around those corners, trying not to clip that curb and trying not to push out next to that guy that's probably on the outside of you there. So, you know, this is one of those tracks where you're sweating and you're hurting when you're done.
Yeah, and just a note before we go green, which is coming out real quick, as Mikey Neal gets a jump there and gets a little out of shape, but he kind of recovers from it. No fast repair, 60% fuel is what they have. So with a track like this, you've got to be real careful with no fast repair.
Yeah, we've already got some guys overshooting that first corner. Saw 2 cars drive it straight up into the wall there and run the wall around that outside corner. One of them was the 36 car of Salvatore De Janeiro, and not sure who the other one was.
Yeah, and trying to look here, too. There was a lot of battling. There's still a lot of battling going on in the back. The front, I think, for the most part, is single-filed out for the... Well, I'd say this whole field's really single-filed out now, so we're going to have to just keep an eye for battles. But it looks like maybe James Morgan and Dan Butler are going to start battling here back for about 6th position.
Yeah, I'd say that's our first close battle here as they're running side-by-side. Dan Butler on the outside of James Morgan. Typically, the inside's kind of the preferred line. You can just make up too much ground in the corner here. As long as you can get back to the throttle coming off the corner, don't get pinched down too bad. But Dan Butler looks like he's able to clear him there. So I'm not sure if James Morgan just kind of gave it to him or not. But we've got another battle right behind him there with the 28 of Brian Bizzle and the 99 of Justin Starr.
Yeah, and it's starting to really heat up back here for these guys. And, you know, it's surprising, and it is surprising, but it's not. It's kind of typical. The front kind of does their own thing. We see this a lot, in not just in this series, but other series. And the back is where the racing is at lately anyway, as Mikey Neal currently has a 0.5 second lead over Ryan Hesgard, who has been doing really good as we got contact between the 99 and the 28.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of contact there. Not the last time we're going to see that tonight. You know, you get stuck there on that outside like the 28 is right now. And really about your only hope is, unless somebody just gives it up to you, knowing you're faster, you kind of got to just not let them get off that corner. You got to kind of pinch them down a little bit in that corner. Keep them from getting back to that throttle. The lower you can make them run, the later they have to wait to get to that throttle. and that's your best shot at getting them down the straightaway. But that opens you up to some contact and maybe some unfriendly gestures from your friendly drivers because they don't like that.
Yeah, they definitely are not going to like that. This is one of those tracks, you talk about tempers. Not only will you have bent fenders, you will have flared tempers. That is just part of this track. Hopefully we don't see too terribly much. If I'm not mistaken, this was the track that we were at last time when we saw some tempers flaring from Trevor Graffam as he sailed it into the corner and ended up taking out 2 or 3 cars.
Well, I don't specifically remember that one, but I'm watching Ryan Hesgard right now. Changing subjects on you. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I've seen it at other tracks, but Ryan Hesgard right now driving it in pretty hard on Mikey Neal. Looks like he's trying to get some position there, but kind of like we talked about earlier, he's driving it in. He's getting up to Mikey Neal at the center corner, and Mikey's just crushing him coming off the corners and down the straightaway right now.
He is, indeed. And your front fours, we'll take a wider angle here. Your front four have really checked out. You got 1 and 2. They have a little bit of a gap. Really, there's a huge gap between them. Then you get to 3 and 4. But your top 4 in general have really pulled away from this field. And why that is important to keep in mind is because this is a half-mile track. Eventually, they will start to catch the rear end of this field. And why that's important, if it was a single car trying to get by, if Mikey Neal was by himself trying to get through lap cars, he would be okay. But when you have 2, 3 other cars that are just as fast behind you and you're trying to go through lap traffic, they can use that lap traffic against you to try to get by you and pin you up on the high side when you're trying to make a pass. So Mikey's going to have to be really careful when he catches these cars coming up in the future.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that something didn't happen back there to put those guys so far behind. The 75, William Edwards, was kind of the leader of that pack, and I saw him running the inside wall and kind of pulling to the back of the field. And then I saw Damian Leininger sliding all over back there. So I'm not sure they didn't have some kind of jam up there. As I'm watching now, Damian Leininger gets into the back end and gives him a V-shaped tailgate there of the 75. So I don't know. I don't think that was a message, but you never know on these tracks. I think it was just a case of one guy getting into the corner harder than the other. But guys have been known to send little messages out there on this track.
Yeah, you can definitely you can expect somebody at some point here, whether that was or wasn't, like you said, you can expect somebody will send a message to somebody. Again, you don't want to hit them too hard. You damage your own truck as well. But you can expect to, again, the chrome horns to get that used against you at some point. If somebody's faster and you're holding them up, they will nudge you. That is short track racing. Again, some people, you can say it's dirty, it's wrong. But it is part of short track racing, unfortunately, as that battle is still heating back up there between the 3 and the 75.
Yeah, they're going at it, and the 3's driving into that corner a lot harder here. The 75s are getting off the corner a little bit better. It's not like we saw with Mikey and Ryan Hesgard up there, but the 3 is definitely getting into the corner a lot harder. And really, for the most part, he's able to get off the corner as well as the 75, so that's a pretty good indication that the 3's faster. He just needs to back this corner up a little bit once and beat him off the corner, but 75 is going to pull off to the side there and let these guys by. He don't want to hold up traffic anymore.
Yeah, and he's going to let him by, and the 5's going to get by. We'll check in with our drivers. That is one of them there that got the EOL. He's up to 9th place. Brian Jones up to 12th place from his EOL. So they are slowly but surely making progress here. And I want to go to the front here, as Mikey Neal has not caught any traffic yet. However, his lead has shrunk from 0.5 down to 0.466, and it was there now 0.433. So depending on what corner they're in, his lead shrinks a little bit, but then he gets it back.
Well, and I think this is just, again, you see the lead that Mikey opens up going down the straightaway, and then how much Ryan Hesgard closes that up, getting in there. I suspect that Mikey's just kind of managing some tires right now because he's getting off these corners really, really well. And like you said, every time Ryan Hesgard closes that up, Mikey seems to pull back out. But I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not out there on the track, but not sure that Ryan Hesgard isn't using up those front tires as hard as he's getting into that corner right now. And Mikey might be encouraging that.
Yeah, he could be. And what we talked there, I was talking about a second ago, it may come to play as they're about to catch the 64 of Tony Rice, the last car on the lead lap right now. And look at the gap between them. Therefore, that last corner, he was literally pushing Mikey around the corner. So I think maybe some of this is Mikey having to plan his moves around the 64, and that allowed the 23 to catch him really quick, as he is going to dive into the corner here and try to get him on the corner.
Yeah, and that's actually Mikey set that up on the previous corner with his what we talked about getting off on that. He was able to pull out as soon as he got on that straightaway and get by, so it was pretty good. Now, Ryan Hesgard and Mikey made a little contact in that previous corner, so I think this is where we're going to see if Mikey's got a little in the tank that he was saving, if he's able to extend that lead again a little bit, because I don't think he wants Ryan making contact with his bumper, but we just saw Mikey hit the wall there a little bit, so that's an indication that he is pushing it. And this one might be the battle to watch here.
Yeah, I think it is too. Is he going to get right there to his back bumper? And again, just can't get enough of a run, I don't think, to get him, but he is all over his back bumper. Is Jameer Muhammad. We're going to watch that one. He's going to get by the lap car, the 64 as well. So your front four have made it through, and they've kind of spread out. But look at that. We're looking at Mikey Neal in this front two battle, and you can't even see the cars down the straightaway. So I think it's just a matter of laps here before they start catching this entire field, as the rest of the car, fifth place on of James Morgan, was on the entrance of turn 3 when these guys are going into turn 1 right now.
Yeah, these guys, the way things are looking here, are going to catch the back of the main pack probably in about 5 or 6 laps tops here. They're only about 5 seconds behind the back of the main pack, and right now they've got probably about a second to a second and a half a lap on them. So, they got about 5 or 6 laps here, I think, unless something happens, and they're going to have to start negotiating a lot of lap traffic.
Yeah, because we're looking here, starting with Salvatore De Janeiro back in 15th, 16 seconds behind, 15, 14, 13, 12, 12, 12. That is the gap between them for all the way up to 10th place, 11th place actually, and your leader. So yeah, when he catches them, he's going to catch them in a hurry, and it's going to be a huge group of them, and it's going to be a lot of work. It's one thing to get past one car here, one car there, but when you're talking 4 to 6 cars that you have to try to get by, that's going to make it very interesting here. And why it's going to be interesting is because, one car, you might see them kind of get out of the way, but if you're battling for, 3 positions going on, like 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever place it happens to be, in this case it'll be like 8th, 9th, 10th, you're not just going to get out of the way of the leader. You're trying to stay on the lead lap and battle for position, too.
Well, and that's where this is going to be a little harder for Mikey, because...
Oh, caution.
Comes out, I didn't see who that was.
And it was the 36 of Salvatore De Janeiro, who was stopped on the front stretch. Let's go back and take a look.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to hit that wall, and so he gave it a little bit more wheel, and we know we've got a loose set. And what a loose set means is we've got more grip in those front tires than the back. And the way he was tracking out to that wall and then flung that rear end around tells me that he's got a little more front end grip than he's probably is good for the amount of wheel that he had to give it there to miss that wall. That rear end just came around, and he went right into that inside wall.
He did indeed. The good news is he will be able to drive it off, so he will not have to tow, so that is definitely a plus. If you have to tow, it is a long way to tow around this track, and I expected everybody coming down pit road here as we completed 33 laps before we had our first caution.
Yeah, I think in this league we've seen these guys tend to like to pit at Martinsville. Everybody come down, and a lot of times, at a track like Martinsville, it just doesn't ring true with these guys. But I'll see guys that'll stay out there on 30, 40 lap tires, and usually maybe that's just with a bigger field. But track positions that hard to come by here. you know, a lot of times you can stay out there and not lose that many positions. It's so hard to pass on some older tires. But like you said, everybody's coming in here.
They are coming in, and if you want to do me a favor, go back and look, as I don't even think you have to now. Never mind, the 21 of Dan Butler, I think he missed his pit stall. We saw him drive through pit road, but did not stop, and he is back on pit road again. I do believe he maybe missed his pit stall and having to come back down pit road a second time.
Yeah, I was already backing up looking for that. Still not sure if I'm on the right lap, but it sure seemed that way. To me as well.
Well, he is in now, so he's going to complete his stop.
And he did. He just completely overshot it and pulled into the wrong box.
Well, then you really have no choice but to go back around here. So that's what he's going to do, and he will make his pit stop. Good news, I think he's going to stay on the lead lap. We're going to take a look. No, he's not. One lap down now. So that is unfortunate. That is a costly mistake, as he was working his way through this field. But after pit stop's complete, it is going to be the 8 of Mikey Neal that is back out front.
Yeah, and then just to add insult to injury, as Dan Butler's trying to get out of the pits there, the pack was coming around and a closed pit exit, so he had to sit there and wait for him to clear. So Dan Butler with a tough pit stop there, and looks like he got a little bit of chrome horn there at some point too. He's got a big V-shaped bit of damage in the back of his truck.
Yeah, that's one thing about these trucks. The damage is really where you can get a very slight tap and it will put a lot of damage to that back of that truck. As the pace car is driving off, we're going racing again, this time by very quickly coming out, as it doesn't take long to go. And there it is. Green flag is back in the air. We are racing Mikey Neal, starting this race here, or the restarting this race, with Hesgard right behind him. Laurel behind him. A caution is out again.
Yeah, Hesgard overdrove that. I think he got saved by the caution there a little bit. He overdrove that and slid out. He definitely had lost that spot to Laurel, and I think he might have lost another spot to Jameer Muhammad had that stayed green. So I think this caution definitely going to help Ryan Hesgard there.
It is. We're going back. I believe it was the 64 of Tony Rice that will bring out the caution here for the second time on lap 39. We'll see what happened. He was kind of holding back there a little bit. It looks like he wasn't with this main group. Oh, and he does. He looks like he spun the tires, got it a little out of shape, and then had help from the 45 of Brian Jones as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it in a nutshell. He already had a tore-up truck, and it looks like he might have blown his engine on this one, and wouldn't be surprised if that's not the night for him.
Yeah, it probably will be. We'll see if he's able to come back out or not. It's unfortunate that definitely happens in racing. You know, you can't finish every race, or at least finish good in every race. He's had a good run and just not going to end well here tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm impressed though so far with Ryan Hesgard up there. I don't think I've seen a whole lot of him race, but you know, I thought he was driving it in a little bit hard there early in that race and maybe eating up those front tires, but he was able to hang there right on Mikey Neal's bumper pretty much that whole time. Really, the only mistake I thought I saw him make was on that restart and getting into that first corner. But, you know, I don't know how he would have recovered because the caution came out. So Ryan Hesgard having a fantastic race here tonight. Definitely
is having a fantastic race. And overall, a really good race here. That is our second caution here of the night for 8 laps. Still 109 laps to go with 2 different lead changes. So we still have a lot of racing to go. Fixing to be coming up on less than 100, but right now 108. Going to be about 107 when we get the green flag again. Again, these cautions are pretty short considering the fact that it seems like they take a lot of laps, but again, at a half-mile track, they take about 3 or 4, and then they're back racing again, depending on if people go in pit road or not.
Yeah, if nobody pits, obviously we shorten up the cautions, and you know, at 40 seconds a pace lap, I mean that's faster than some of the racetracks we run at speed laps. Some of those bigger ones, particularly some of those super speedways. So cautions don't last long here.
They do not last long at all. And, I wish we could go crank it up, but we don't have a crank it up cam here for this track. So that is a little unfortunate. But we can try to do the best we can here. We can go to at least TV1 here, and we can get up close with these guys and crank it up. So when we go green, it seems like a good time to go a little crank it up here.
Absolutely, and I just want to point out Justin Starr up to 6th place. So he thought he might have a top 5 truck in him tonight, and here he is driving up to 6th place already.
He is indeed. So there it is. Lights are off. We're going to go radio silent, and we'll be right back here after just a few laps here with Crank It Up on VRN. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are watching these guys go around this track again. Mikey Neal out front leading this race right now as he is doing a fantastic job. Ooh, almost getting into the back bumper of him is the Ryan Hesgard, and the 23 just about tags his back bumper but does hang on to not get into him. We're seeing a lot of marks around this track as these guys are definitely battling, and those trucks are getting a little bit loose, and it's going to be a very fun and interesting race to see who wins. But right now Mikey Neal has led 48 laps.
I got a little bit of technical difficulty going on here, so I'm going to have to leave you hanging for a second, and I'll be right back.
All right, hopefully we can get those sorted out. As Jeff just having all sorts of issues here with that PC. We're still trying to sort everything out, as he's going to have to reboot the PC. So he'll be back here shortly. While we have a moment, let's go ahead and go through your top 10 here so far in this race. So we'll go up to Mikey Neal. He started first. He's in first. He's led 50 laps so far here tonight. Looking in second place is going to be the 23 of Ryan Hesgard, who's started third and is in second right now. Hasn't led any laps so far, as a caution is going to come out again. And it looks like it's going to be back here in the back with the 36 of Salvador De Janeiro. So let's go back and take a look. What happened here to the 36? He's back here with Dan Butler, and we'll see. He was involved. Don't know if he actually started it or not. Maybe a little contact there between him and the 21. It was a bad angle there, but the caution does come out once again, as we are going to go back to the front here, and everybody coming down pit road. So we're going to watch the pit stop, see what happens, and we'll be right back here in just a few moments as we're getting ready to go green once again. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, as the lights are off on the pace car once again. We are under caution here. We'll see. Will it be the last caution? Will we see some more? That is debatable and up for debate, I guess you could say. We don't, again, try to predict them, but I expect we'll see at least one more. As there it is, green flag's out, and this time it's Ryan Hesgard that is out front. As while you were rebooting there, Jeff, he took a 9-second stop to get the lead, so obviously he only took 2 tires. The question is, will those 2 tires work, and is Mikey Neal just fast enough to get by him?
Yeah, obviously I missed a few laps there, but I don't think they could have possibly had too many green flag laps run on there, so probably a good call. And, you know, we'll have to see. Ryan Hesgard obviously was faster than Mikey getting in the corners. He was a little slower getting off the corners, but a lot of that can be just trying to figure out how to get by guys. So now that Ryan Hesgard has the lead, I think we got an opportunity to see how fast he is.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see, as he's now led 5 laps. Butler has led 1 and Jones led 1 as well. Those guys did stay out to lead the lap, came back in so that they would get that bonus point, but we're not seeing that separation, I don't think, that we saw earlier in the race. Hesgard currently has a .399 lead, but you know, it was your top 4 last time that separated. Now you got about 6 up there, as you go all the way back to James Morgan, even Brian Bizzle. So your top 7 before you have a big gap. So quite a few more up front here that are not getting separated.
Well, I think we had a couple drivers there in the middle of that pack last time that were struggling. And, you know, it's very, very difficult to pass here. And I think that struggle with those guys probably slowed up some guys behind them. And so, yeah, I would expect, you know, for this getting bunched up a little bit closer. But Ryan Hesgard is just off to the races right now. Mikey Neal, not too far behind him, but, you know, Jameer Muhammad already a 2.5 back. Damian Leininger 2 seconds back. James Morgan, you know, 2.5, 3 seconds back. So really starting to fall off pretty quick there. Looks like we got a good battle with James Morgan and Brian Bizzle, by the way.
Yeah, we definitely do, as we're watching that too. And keep in mind here, about 12 seconds down now is Brian Jones. Matthew Ellis just went a lap down in the 6 machine. So he is now 1 lap down, so it's just a matter of time before they start catching the rest of this field. Once again, it's not going to take long, and Brian Bizzle and James Morgan, that one's kind of settled out, as Brian Bizzle in the 28 will take it. And once again, they've gone single file.
Yeah, and Mikey Neal has really done a good job running down Ryan Hesgard here. He's got that down to about 0.3, but James Larillo also joining the party here. Jumping up right there with Mikey Neal too. So I think it's going to get interesting here in a few minutes.
It is going to get very interesting here. Have a 2-3 car battle for the lead, as it's going to get interesting even more, because right in front of them again is the 64 of Tony Rice, who is not going to be anything. I think he's going to let these guys by. I was wondering if he would. He is going to pull it up and let those front 3 by, though.
Yeah, that's just some good sportsmanship there by the 64 car there of Tony Rice. You know, he's already several laps down. There's not a rule that says he has to get out of the way, other than the rule that says you got to face these drivers again next week if you stay in this series. So some good sportsmanship there by Tony getting out of their way.
Yeah, and that is one thing drivers may never admit it. Some of them anyway. Some of them probably just flat out admit it. But if you hold them up and it costs them a win, or it costs them a top 5, top 3, whatever, whether they'll admit it or not, they will probably come back and give you payback for it later on in the season, or next week, just depending on how mad they get and how quickly they want to enact that revenge. It can happen.
Well, and it's not even payback. It's not like necessarily revenge or something. Maybe it's more like retribution. You know, you're just going to wait till the next time. You may not wreck a guy, but you'll burn his tires up when he's trying to get by or something. You'll remember that, and maybe he'll be fast to you or something, and you'll burn him up. All right. like Charles had to step away for a second, so I'm not even sure what we got on the broadcast here, so bear with me, and we'll give it a shot. But I believe we're looking at the 12 and the 20 and the 14, James Morgan and Jameer Muhammad here, with Jameer Muhammad closing in on him there. James Morgan having that solid top 5 run here pretty much most of the day. And Jameer Muhammad, who we know has been running pretty decently here lately on these short tracks, it's probably the only kind of track he's yet to master. Meanwhile, up front, and I know we can't see to it, we've got that the battle kind of continues between Mikey Neal and Ryan Hesgard. Mikey Neal got into his bumper a couple times, but Ryan Hesgard managing really just to hold him off there. Maybe has a bad corner, but then gets it back together and is kind of pulling away a little bit. James Larillo again also in there. He's kind of getting in that mix, but they've spread out a little bit. They're about a half-second apart each there. And then, back to the field, that battle we were watching earlier with James Morgan and Jameer Muhammad, really the only side-by-side or even close to side-by-side battle we've got now, with Jameer Muhammad trying to get around him on the outside, and it didn't work out, and he lost a lot of ground here.
And I am back. Had to step away for just a minute, and I won't go into detail, but that was the nastiest stuff I have ever had in my life. But yeah, we were following along with you, still in control of the cameras, just couldn't talk on the mic for a second. But a really good battle going on here, and again, Justin Starr, wanted to check in with him. 8th place. He said he had a top 5 car, and he does have a little bit of damage, but for the most part, compared to last time he was here, that truck is a lot cleaner than it was.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out, Kamikaze was asking a question here in chat, what happened to Jameer Muhammad. I'm not sure, because while he was falling back 3 spots, I was falling out of the server. I got logged back in, but I don't see any damage on Jameer, and it looked to me like maybe he's just struggling a little bit with this setup on this track. I don't know if the heat's getting in there and it's getting a little looser on him, but he's having a heck of a time getting around. He got up to James Morgan's bumper there, but just couldn't get around him. Tried him on the outside, and it usually doesn't work. So it would seem to me that maybe Jameer's just struggling here tonight with this setup.
Yeah, and again, if anybody that had been here practiced with that older setup before, 2 days ago they had a perfectly working setup. So they were practicing with that one, and then to be given this setup that officially I don't even think is out on iRacing yet. iRacing actually gave them this setup, so this is a totally different setup. It's a lot looser from what we were hearing, so they literally have the hour worth of practice on this setup, and that's it.
Yeah, and Ryan Hesgard already into some lap traffic here as he works around the 64 of Tony Rice. He had extended that lead over Mikey Neal to a little over a second until they caught lap traffic there. Mikey Neal able to close it back down, as they negotiate the lap traffic. Because we know the first guy, the leader, we started to talk about this earlier, but got to caution. Like you said, nobody wants to go that lap down, so they tend to fight the leader a little bit more. But once they've gone that lap down, they tend to let the second guy go a lot easier because there's nothing to fight for there. So we'll have to see how Ryan Hesgard does if they catch the rest of this lap traffic. But so far, Mikey Neal, who just got really loose there, getting into the corner as I was watching that. So maybe Mikey's struggling with this setup too a little bit right now. I'm guessing maybe we got a little more heat in this track and things are starting to get a little bit loose for these guys.
Yes, we'll pull that race analyst up real quick. It is a 68-degree air temp. The track temp, 100 degrees. I know for a fact it didn't start there. It was probably around 90, 96, 92, somewhere in there. So some heat definitely has been put into this track, and since then it has been Hesgard that got the front and was able to. I'm not saying Mikey Neal, this heat is affecting his truck. It very well could be a track position thing, as we've seen that before. Track position being so much of a key that once you get out front, that you really can't be passed.
Well, it's hard to pass, obviously. I think some of these better drivers in here can make the pass. if they're fast enough. Right now, Ryan Hesgaard, he's too fast to be passed. But if Mikey Neal was faster, or I think even Jameer Muhammad was faster, I think these guys are capable of setting up a pass. But Mikey Neal, just watched him get loose again off that corner. He's fighting a very, very loose truck right now. So I don't know what Mikey did for tires on that last stop, but if he got anything other than 4, he's probably wanting a caution right now because he's extremely loose. And James Larillo getting a little bit frustrated there. It almost looks like trying hard to find a way around Mikey right now.
Yeah, it is surprising. He actually had 15.1 second stop, so he took 4 tires. But it seems like the 2 tires are not a bad call. I think it's working for him as he is actually pulling away. So, again, they're on a fixed setup. Everybody's setup is the same, but those 2 tires are not slowing him down. I wondered if they would potentially because of putting a lot of wear on them. But I don't think it's hurting. I think, he may have done that strategy maybe a little too early. We'll see. Now everyone else out there on this track sees, hey, 2 tires can get me up front, and I can hold off this field.
Well, everybody starts a run with the same set, or at least a race with the same set. How you drive that car throughout the run makes a huge difference. And a lot of these guys that have good long run, especially in these fixed sets, they have learned how to take it easy on those front tires and drive it off those rear tires, which means by nature these fixed sets are usually tight and you drive them loose. And that's one of the reasons you see guys like Mikey Neal and Jameer Muhammad so good on the long run. That's how they drive these cars. That's how they do it. And so those are 2 guys who we've both noticed are loose here. They're getting into the corner slow. They're good off. Another example of guys driving off that rear tire. That's what you want. That's what we said you had to do. But with a little bit looser setup, driving it loose, they may actually, the setup may work against these 2 guys and that driving style right now, as we see Ryan Hesgaard able to extend that lead, and he's somebody, along with James Larillo, these guys are kind of driving it in and working that front tire a little bit more. So not sure if that's the case, but I'm starting to suspect maybe these guys might be getting loose because their driving style, and they may have to start driving it into that corner a little bit harder just to kind of balance that wear a little bit.
Yeah, they very well could be having to do change it up here. Is we're going back here to the 14, the 12, and the 99. These guys are putting on a pretty good battle back here. Looks like the 99 of Justin Starr's trying to work over Jameer Muhammad. And Jameer back in 7th place. I honestly, other than him being wrecked out of a race, I think this is probably the lowest we've seen Jameer in position in quite some time.
Yeah, and again, I'm not down there in the track with these guys, but look how fast Justin Starr closes up on Jameer getting into those corners. Again, he's got a similar style to Mikey, and before I noticed Mikey was loose, I noticed that Jameer was struggling a little bit too, with what also looked like a loose truck. So I think Mikey and Jameer are kind of going through a similar phase right now, with their trucks.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. They are going through similar things. Question is, will this reverse again? Obviously, Mikey Neal led 53 laps. Now Hesgaard has led 41. Will we see a new leader come and shine here, or will it be Hesgaard that goes? Will it be Mikey Neal that ends up winning this thing? That is the best part about racing, is you just never know what's going to happen. As we do have William Edwards coming down pit road here, as they have 44 laps on this stint. I'm not sure what the fuel window is, but we may be coming up on it, as we've been green for 44 laps now.
Yeah, I don't know either. I was going to guess, and it would just be a pure guess, that we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about a 60-lap fuel window. And that's just, Huffy, who was in chat earlier, I don't know if he's still in there. He may be able to enlighten us, but I'm going to guess it's in the neighborhood of 60, in which case, we might see some guys just 45 laps into that run with 50 to go. Looks like they're thinking about probably splitting this up, and maybe somebody short pitting right now.
Yeah, interesting to see. And that was for William Edwards, he's back on the track, a 14.7 stop. So that was just going in, getting 4 tires of fuel. That was a scheduled stop. You know, there was no damage repaired or anything like that. He is back out quickly. So I would imagine, anyway, guess that that is a scheduled stop. But we'll see who the next one is going to come in. And we got Mike Neal in chat. He tried to throw some debris on the track, but it didn't work.
I don't know if I really don't know what's going on there, Mike. I suspect they're getting a little bit loose, but by the same token, it may come back to these guys a little bit if these guys are wearing off those front tires. So I don't know if you want debris or not. I think Ryan Hesgaard's just running a heck of a race right here, and we'll see if Mikey can adjust. We know Mikey's a heck of a driver himself, so I think we're probably going to have a fantastic finish here. And James Larillo been right there in the mix too most of the night. Damian Leininger's up there in 4th place. He drove it all the way up from the back. So, and just as I say that, he makes the pass on James Larillo and brings it up into 3rd place. So James Larillo may be falling off there a little bit too. He's another one of those guys that was driving it in pretty hard, and he may, you know, have that right front wear him down on him a bit.
Yeah, and you know, one thing to point out here about Mikey Neal, we know he can conserve pretty well. I think he's learned that from some other people out on this track. So he very well could be conserving right now, just try to save those tires or conserve fuel. Maybe he is going to try to split this thing here as we'll take a look. We have less than 50 laps to go. We have 45 to go. We've been out for 51, so I'm with you. I think they could possibly make it to maybe 60 laps. He's going to try to run this out as long as he can.
It's always tough here at Martinsville, right? If you're the leader, you don't want to get short pit on and let somebody around you, because passing guys is so hard. But by the other token, getting into the pits roads here is really, really difficult, and oftentimes we'll see a caution come out, and so if you've got the opportunity to put guys a lap or two down while they're pitting by staying out, you know, and then have that caution come out, you want to take it. You certainly don't want to be the guy that goes a lap or two down. So when do you pit at Martinsville? Always a difficult one here as far as the field goes. Do you run it out and just hope that there's a caution that comes out, or you know, you split that run and get those new tires?
Yeah, it definitely is a very, very tough call to make. These guys are good at it. That's why they're the pros here racing, and we're up in the booth. Well, at least one of us anyway. One of us does race. The other one only races when they say it's okay to use a mouse. So it definitely it's going to be interesting as, Mikey Neal almost gets into the back bumper of the 64 as they go to put Tony Rice another lap down.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Earnhardt fan for life there. I don't think you can take 2 tires. I think there's too many laps on these tires, too much heat built up. I think the only way you get away with 2 tires here is if you got a couple short runs like we had earlier. So I think you're going to see all these guys pretty much have to take 4 tires here. And it looks like things are starting to heat up here again. Mikey Neal has run down Ryan Hesgaard again right there on his bumper there for a second.
Yeah, he definitely is. And like I said, I think Mikey Neal may have been saving back a little bit. I do think everyone is going to have to pit again. The question is, what lap will it be? We did not get a fuel window here. Clearly, they can go a long way on tires. And it looks like the whole front of the field's coming in.
Yeah, and I didn't see the last few of Mikey's laps, but I saw the last 2, and that was it there when I was watching Ryan and Mikey there. But Mikey looked like he adjusted a bit. He was driving it into those last couple corners a lot harder. So I think we might be spot on with that loose truck and then trying to drive it back tight a little bit there. So we'll see what kind of adjustment Mikey's able to make this run. We'll see if Jameer Muhammad can make a similar adjustment. And we'll see if Ryan Hesgaard can continue to just kind of keep everybody at bay and keep the lead here.
Yeah, and we're going to be watching. I know there's a lot of racing going on, but you have your top 3 drivers on pit road, 1, 2, and 3 in their pit stops. So we're going to watch those pit stops here. Everybody got in clean, and I believe it is going to be Mikey Neal that beats Ryan Hesgaard off of pit road. So he will be the race leader again once everything sorts out, if everything goes to plan.
Yeah, meanwhile, Brian Bizzle has that lead, and he's about 60 laps on these tires. So we think there's probably not a whole lot more fuel up that tank. We don't know exactly how many there are. James Morgan still out there in second place in that 12 truck. Jameer Mohammed trying an alternate pit strategy here, hoping for a caution because he's been having some struggles in that truck too. Justin Starr out there in fourth place, still on track. Brandon Dorsett, Dan Butler, Brian Jones, and Brian Dorsey all still yet to pit out there in the truck, and they're the top 8.
And I want to point out here, Ryan Hesgaard did get by. Contact between the 23 and the 8, and that's going to be more contact between the 99 and the Brian Hesgaard in the 23. As right now, Mikey Neal was doing everything he could to try to hang on to first. It didn't quite work out, and now he's got Justin Starr in front of him, and he's got to try to get by him to get up there to Ryan Hesgaard.
Yeah, I had to back up and see what happened there. I was watching some other stuff in traffic there, but looks like lap traffic just kind of the undoing there for Mikey there for a minute. And Mikey tried to make a move to the inside. There was just curbs. So, we talked about lap traffic coming into play, and I think lap traffic allowed Ryan Hesgaard to get around Mikey. And now Mikey's got his work cut out for him. Lost nearly a second there. And, I don't think he really got any damage. Truck looks okay, but, he's going to have to work here as these guys are in heavy lap traffic right now. Ryan Hesgaard actually getting caught up behind the 12 of James Morgan. Mikey Neal trying to work over the 14 of Jameer Mohammed. So 12 of James Morgan really slowing up the 23 of Ryan Hesgaard right now.
And that is the best case scenario for Mikey Neal right now. As it looks like he's going to get by him, but it definitely didn't hurt Mikey Neal. It's going to help him a little bit, but not enough, I don't think. As now the 8 has to try to get by the 12 as well, and he's going to hold him up too. He's not going to just let him by, like I thought he might for the leaders, but it's not going to matter there. He looks like he may let him go. I don't know. He's pinching him down a little bit, it looks like.
Well, James Morgan currently in second place because he hasn't pit yet, so hoping that caution comes out and he gets to retain that, so not wanting to give up much anything right now. Definitely fought both Ryan Hesgaard and Mikey Neal for that position. And, we're not done here. We've got pit stops off sequence. These guys have caught the main pack. And we've already seen one lead change due to lap traffic. I don't think we've seen our lap.
We have it. Brandon Dorsett on pit road. James Morgan, your leader for 2 laps now. Justin Starr takes second. Dan Butler, Brian Jones, and Brian Dorsey are your top 5 right now after 123 laps going to be completed at the line. Again, just some really good battling going on here all over the place, whether it's lap cars or lead lap cars.
Yeah, our top 5 still hasn't pit. They're going on lap 69-ish on this run, 67. James Morgan, Justin Starr, Dan Butler, Brian Jones, and Brian Dorsey. 5 cars still out there on those old tires, and things are starting to get a little bit heated here between Brian Jones and Dan Butler too, as they battle right now for 4th and 5th place.
And I know exactly what these guys are thinking right now. It is plain as day to anyone out there probably what they're doing. They've seen go long green flag run, and then there was caution. They're probably hoping for another caution to come out here as Dan Butler goes to pit road, that they can come in and be on the lead lap here and get a really good finish out of it. However, we went a long green flag run, then a couple of cautions, and now we've gone another 71 plus 13 laps, so about 84 laps caution-free since the last caution.
Oh, these guys are absolutely hoping to catch some cars lap down right now. And, we've got guys on such different tire cycles right now. I'm watching a 23 of Ryan Hesgaard, who will eventually cycle back up to our leader, but the 5 there of Brandon Dorsett, who's on fresh rubber right now, 3 laps on those tires, wanting to get by, and the 23 not looking like he's going to give him any kind of preferred line, so we'll have to see how aggressive the 5 of Dan Butler gets here. Or Brandon Dorsett, sorry, not Dan Butler.
And Justin Starr giving up the lead. He did indeed lead 1 lap, so he'll get the bonus point. Here comes Brian Jones down pit road. Only one driver has yet to come down, and that is Brian Dorsey in that 9, as he now has 71, fixing to be 72 laps now on that set of tires.
Yeah, Brandon Dorsett able to get around at 23 Ryan Hesgaard, but not without Ryan Hesgaard put up a fight, and I think that cost him a little bit of time. I wasn't watching the gap. He's still got a full 1 second lead on Mikey Neal right now. Mikey Neal caught up in even more traffic right now as he tries to split the 99 of Justin Starr and the 64 of Tony Rice 3 wide there. Both of these guys really struggling to get through this lap traffic right now.
And just to show you, we're trying to cover all this racing action and showing you how crazy it is out on this track right now. Just like 5 laps ago, probably 4 laps ago, Justin Starr led a lap. Now he's a lap down. That is how crazy this race is going on right now. You can lead a lap and then less than 5 laps later be a lap down. That is how crazy the pit stops are working, how much racing is going on here, as we now have 20 laps to go.
Well, and we've got guys with such discrepancies on their tires. We've got Tony Rice out there still with 66 laps. William Edwards with 32 laps. We got Ryan Hesgaard and Mikey Neal with 19 laps on their tires. We got Brian Dorsey with 1 lap, Brian Jones with 2, Justin Starr with 3. So we've got a lot of guys running at way different clips there throughout this field right now. And I'm watching the 45 there behind Mikey Neal right now, and he looks like he's faster on fresher tires and would like to get around, not wanting to press it. So a little bit of indecision going on out there. Trying not to get in the middle of that race, but certainly not want to go around in cruise control when you're a top 10 truck right now. So there's a difference in tires, and this tire strategies could, we don't like to predict anything, but if anything's going to bring out the caution, it's going to be 2 entirely different speeds of trucks there. One trying to be careful, one trying to be aggressive, or both trying to be aggressive, and that's if anything brings out the caution, that'll be it.
Yeah, it definitely is. As you saw the 45 of Brian Jones there get a little out of shape, as he was putting on a heck of a run there with Mikey Neal, even though he is currently a lap down. He was definitely giving a run for his money for the 8 of Mikey Neal, just wasn't for an actual position. Right now there is only 8 cars or trucks here on the lead lap. That is Hesgaard, Neal, Meininger, Lorello, Bizzle, Muhammad, Morgan, and Dorsett. Those are the only drivers on the lead lap right now, and the only driver out of the race currently is the 36 of Salvatore De Janeiro.
Yeah, and watching that 45 of Brian Jones, he's on 15-lap new tires. He's faster than both these guys, and that's his lap. If he can get by Ryan Hesgaard, he's back on the lead lap, and I think he knows his truck's fast enough to do it, but he's not really wanting to stick his nose in there and impact a piece of the race. He's, positions that he's not, fighting for right now anyway. So tough decision for Brian Jones right now, and I can almost see the indecision out there. A couple times he's wanted to stick his nose in there, but then backed out. Looks like he's a little tormented on whether or not he should try to drive that lap back or not, but the longer he waits, the harder it's going to get here. And he may have already seen that window passing by, as it looks like they're starting to level off here a little bit on speed.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. Do you try to fight it back and possibly get into one of these guys and, mess up their day, and then you feel horrible? Ooh, so we got the 5 getting way out of shape, and he saves it. But what a job. But do you try to get in there and fight your way back and get that lap back, or do you hope for a caution to come out here in the next lap or so to where you get the lucky dog spot and then you're right up there in the top 8 battling with those guys for position? It's a tough decision, but it looks like he's going to opt to just hang back and not try to fight that issue. But speaking of fighting, look at Mikey Neal. He is now 10 laps to go. He is right on the back bumper, and we have 2 lap cars coming into the picture now.
We do, and we got the 5 who's got some fresher tires right now, Brandon Dorsett. He's pretty fast. We saw him just get loose there a minute ago. We got the 12 of James Morgan, who we saw earlier, not going to give up any spots on the track. So this is, I think, this is the interesting that we knew was going to happen. We got all these trucks right now, and you know, Mikey Neal's got around. There's his shot as he's got to get out of it because the 5 of Brandon Dorsett gets really, really loose, and good job by Brandon Dorsett keeping it off those guys.
Yeah, I really thought he was about to come right into the 23 and door slam him, but what a job. Probably the save of the race right there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think the 12 of James Morgan's going to let these guys go by, which he didn't last time, but with 8 laps to go, it's kind of the right thing to do here. So, you know, hats off to James Morgan getting out of the way and letting these 2 guys fight. Maybe not what Mikey Neal wanted to see. He probably wouldn't have minded seeing Hesgard get hit up. Oh, as we got a little bit of chrome arm from Mikey Neal getting into that corner on the 23's back bumper. So things getting heated here at the front with 6 to go.
Yeah, definitely getting very heated here. Again, that is the battle for first going on, and that's where we're going to stick here unless something drastic happens. With fixing to be 6 to go, you know, there may be some really good battles going on, but none of them for the lead like this one is. Mikey Neal has 6 laps to make his move here, and I think he might be holding back or was holding back a little bit as he is right there. He definitely, I think, has something for him if he can get by him.
I don't think Mikey's holding back. I think Ryan Hesgard, once he got out front, I don't see that herky-jerky driving in hard and a little bit slower off motion. I think Ryan Hesgard's been just running a fantastic race out front. And we're watching Mikey kind of change up his strategy a little bit.
Oh, caution's out.
Caution's out. There's a game changer.
That is with 5 on the thing. I don't know if we're going to go to... I don't even know who spun out, but 4 to go. I don't think we're going to go racing again.
I'm thinking you're right. I think it's probably over here. I didn't look. I thought we had 6 to go. But you're right. I think that is going to be the end of our race.
Well, that would be unfortunate if that is the way it's going to end here. But I do believe that is it. It's going to be 3 to go here at the line. So we will definitely see. Again, with 2 to go, if the lights don't go off, we're not going racing. Again, that is the rule. That would be unfortunate for Mikey Neal as, you know, it was a heck of a battle between him and Hesgard. If Hesgard gets the win, it was a well-fought win, his first win here in the series. But, man, that was really setting out to be a really good finish.
Yeah, I think Hesgard got the win. I think Hesgard ran a fantastic race. You know, the first half we saw Mikey Neal out front. Hesgard struggled trying to figure out where he could get around him. But when Hesgard got out front, you know, he really didn't look back. He was running very, very good laps, and it's tough at a track like this. Mikey Neal, just such a fantastic driver. To hold off a driver like Mikey Neal, and I say hold off, Mikey Neal really didn't even mount a challenge there until the very end. We thought he was gonna, but Ryan Hesgard, fantastic race. Mikey Neal, what an amazing job. Damian Leininger in 3rd place, who we didn't talk about too much, started in the back, had that penalty. He just really was never in those battles when we were looking for battles. It's unfortunate because I think he had a really good race, and he had to pass a lot of cars to get up there.
He did indeed, and there it is, going to be the final lap. White flag is in the air. Again, your white flag is presented by Northwest Racing Series here for tonight's race. And that is unfortunately going to do it, as they are just half lap away from Ryan Hesgard getting his first win here in the series. Mikey Neal finishing 3rd, and Damian Leininger coming from the bottom to the top. He is going to be here talking to us here shortly as they are coming up on the line.
Yeah, what a fantastic race, Martinsville. These guys did a great job. We know they had a loose set. We saw some guys struggling a little bit early. We saw some of our long-run guys struggling with that loose set. I think in the middle of the race it appeared. Thought Mikey Neal was going to steal another one in the pits because we know he's been listening to his dad and practicing those green flag stops, but lap traffic let Ryan Hesgard get back by, and he never looked back.
He did not. Before we get to the post-race show, we do want to go ahead and go through your unofficial race results. So, Jeff, you want to go through our top 10, and then I will finish us off.
Absolutely. Your winner tonight, the number 3 truck, or 23 truck of Ryan Hesgard. In second place, the 8 truck of Mikey Justified Neal. Bringing it home in third, the 3 truck of Damian Leiniger. In fourth place, we have the 13 of James Larillo. In fifth place, we've got the 28 of Brian Bazell. In sixth place, we got the 14 car of Jameer Mohammed. In seventh place, we got the 5 of Brandon Dorsett. In eighth place, we got the 12 of James Morgan. In ninth place, the 45 of Brian Jones. And rounding out your top 10 was the 99 of Justin Starr.
In 11th place will be the 21 of Dan Butler. 12th place will go to the 9 of Brian Dorsey. 13th will be the 6 of Matthew Ellis. 14th will be the 75 of William Edwards. And 15th will go to the 64 of Tony Rice. 16th place will go to the 36 of Salvatore De Janeiro. And 17th will go to the 84 of Bryson Barker, who did not start the race, unfortunately. That will do it here for your unofficial race results. Give us just a few moments and we will be right back here with your post-race show and your top 3 interviews. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, here with the post-race show. Sorry it took a little bit longer to get some stuff ready. But coming in third place here tonight is the 3 of Damian Leiniger, and we do have Jeff caught up with him, so Jeff, will hand it over to you. I am, and again, a fantastic run here for you, Mikey. You led 53 laps. Again, just a great run for you here overall. And I honestly think if we had not had that caution, things could have ended differently. We don't know. We definitely didn't get that chance, but you know, we won't go too far back in the race. It was just one heck of a race for you all night long. But those last few laps, you and Ryan battling, what were those last probably 15 laps like?
Center, I just couldn't roll it, and that's how it just was for the whole race. So I just had to back up my corners more and roll the center, and I mean it was just super tough. It's definitely hard to get through lap traffic today. I mean they did their job; they're supposed to race us, and they raced us really well. And I had so much fun. There were a couple close calls. I know one where I know Ryan and I made contact. I lost one of the trucks on my peripheral vision, so I didn't see him, and then he checked up and came down. I was like, woo! But there was some good moments in that race, and I wish we would have had those last 4 or 5 laps. But second place is better than last, so I'm not too upset about it.
Yeah, definitely a good one here, and we kind of made a mistake and forgot to unmute y'all's mic till just now, and I don't see him in here. If we had a way to get a hold of Leininger, we'd like to bring him back, but again, we can't say too much. We want to talk a little bit about, we heard the truck was loose. So did it get tight at all, or did this truck stay loose with this setup pretty much all night long for you?
I mean, I didn't actually really mind that it was loose. It was definitely loose on exit, which I didn't mind, but it was just so tight through center that when I came off, I mean, I was tugging the wheel so far off the wall that it just even made the truck looser. So if I could have made it just a little bit looser on to the center of the corner, I would have been fine. Entries were fine. It's just I couldn't really get the center down the whole race, and that's where I just started to have to save tires at the end to see if maybe I get back up to him, which I did. And like I said, I wish I would have had a little bit more time to see what would have happened between and then it was a really, really fun race, though. It's definitely one of the most exciting races so far. I really wanted to sweep this track this year. This is a special track to me, and I was so close. I did the same thing I did at Daytona. I went first and second. So, but definitely a great night.
Definitely is, and we know you got some sponsors and shout-outs, so who would those be here for tonight's race?
Yeah, I got to thank my guys at KAM. They definitely helped me a lot, including Pinnacle. Just got to thank you guys for hosting every race, or not hosting, but broadcasting every race. We have a great time listening to you guys, getting to watch this, and got to thank iRacing Drivers World, Global Building Contractors, and the main sponsor of this series, Leo's Coney Island. Also got to thank Lake Erie Entertainment. Got to thank my mom and dad. I know they're both watching, so I tried my hardest today, and also got to thank Dan and Justin. They did a great job hosting this. So got to thank everybody else for watching, and hope you guys had a great time watching this battle.
All right, and we'll hand it back over to Jeff, who does have our race winner, the 23 of Ryan Hesgard, and we make sure we have sound this time. That was a rookie mistake.
Yeah, a couple things here real quick before we get to our winner, Ryan Hesgard. First of all, Damian Leininger wanted to get a shout-out and did. You just didn't hear it. He did thank all the sponsors, but he wanted to get a shout-out to his dad, who he was pretty sure was going to rewatch this race when he heard that Damian got third place. So just want to pass that along. Second item here real quick, Mikey, we understand you got some pretty bad weather. Hurricane Florence heading your way. So stay safe, my friend. And then with that, it is on to your winner tonight, the 23 of Ryan Hesgard. Ryan, you got a copy?
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Hey, congratulations. What a race, man. Early in the race, we saw Mikey lead probably those first 50 laps or so. I was watching you get in those corners a lot faster than him. He was kind of getting off the corner a little bit better. I couldn't tell if you were faster or if you were sizing him up, trying to figure out how to get around him, or, if you guys were just driving two separate lines. But later in the race, when you got around him, I noticed that you were a lot slower into the corners and a lot faster off the corner. So I assume that early in the race, you were struggling to find a way to get around Mikey. Can you speak to that a little bit? What was like trying to catch Mikey, how to get around him? Because you were right on his bumper those first 50 laps.
Yeah. From my past experience, I know that you can drive this place two ways and maintain position. One is either, dive it in hard and you create that gap, and if you can roll the center, you may not have such a great line off, but you'll be fine. Or you can do as Mikey was doing and back the corner up and get the good jump off. So that those first 50 laps, that first pit sequence, I was just kind of, taking my time, watching, seeing what he was doing. And then, once I realized, yeah, he's just getting a better run, and I can't dive bomb him. So we did that first pit stop, kind of followed him again. And then we had the second caution, and I took a chance, and I took 2 tires, and it paid off for me. So, I kind of had it in my mind that he would, if he got to me, he was going to have to, use the bumper a little bit. So, there's, like I said, there's 2 different ways you can run it. I just choose to dive it in deep.
Well, and that was the next point I was going to bring up. You cycled through, I think, that second pit stop there for about 50 laps. You took 2 tires, which again was a bold move. Actually, I think in retrospect it was a good call at the time. I actually thought it might be a good call. Just because track position's so hard to get here. And we didn't have a lot of laps on those tires, but we were under the impression that this setup was a little bit loose. And, always worry about taking 2 tires when you're a little bit loose there. So, obviously that ended up being a good decision. But when you got out in front of Mikey, your driving style completely changed. It looked to me like you went into the slower in and the faster off. And for the most part, that next run, you really kind of held Mikey at bay there a little bit. He'd close the gap, get down to your bumper, but you were able to stretch it until you guys got in lap traffic. And then, it was kind of a coin toss what happened from there. So tell us about that second run and maybe kind of the thought process there. And it was just, in particular, it looked to me like you completely changed your approach to this track and your driving style there. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm wondering what the thought process was with that.
I think I just got a little bit more comfortable after I found my rhythm, I guess you could say. I with some of the marks on the track, I found I was hitting my marks consistently the same every single lap there for, 30, 35 laps, whatever it was. And then we caught the lap traffic, and, I'm not comfortable. I haven't been in this league very long, so I don't want to jeopardize anybody's race. So I'm going to race people, a little bit more cautiously until I get to know their habits and everything like that. So the lap traffic was just being a little extra careful. Hopefully when we get, a little bit more races under our belt, I'll understand how those guys they'll race. I think it was just more of a rhythm. I knew that if I could just get a drive off, there was nothing Mikey could do besides bumping me to move me out of the way. And then we got that green flag pit stop, and Mikey beat me off pit road. He had a fantastic pit stop. So I knew right there that was the race, seeing how strung out we were and, how many cars were still a lap down. So I knew I had to go. We kind of got tangled up there with a lap car. That got pretty exciting. I took a pretty good shot in the rear end, and thankfully the curb kind of straightened me out, which is a rarity at this track. But I'll take it.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going next. On that green flag pit stop, Mikey, who these last few races have been just extremely, rumor has it he might be practicing those green flag pit stops there a little bit. But he pulled off another fantastic green flag pit stop, was able to get around you, but coincidentally, it was a lap car, I think, that allowed you to get right back around Mikey on the track. As you guys kind of caught a lap car at the same time, Mikey went low, you went high. Mikey ended up in the grass and on the curb there a little bit, and you were able to get by and then never really looked back. Kept the lead, didn't really have to hold off a serious challenge. We know Mikey said that he was kind of waiting until the last lap, which never happened. But so yeah, just kind of walk us through that incident there at the lap car and kind of the run to the end there, if you would.
Yeah, we came off pit road, and like I said, it all happened so fast. When Mikey was ahead of me, I knew I had to be way more aggressive than I had been the entire race. So I actually turned my brake bias up one click, and so I could not spin the truck out. And then we got the lap car, and after that it all happened so quick. I went to the top side, and I kind of did it. I kind of ran a line, if I can recall, that was more like a start to the qualifying line. I knew if I could get the run down the straightaway, I would at least clear the lap car. And at the time, that's all I wanted to do, because I knew Mikey's going to race me clean. Mikey's a fantastic driver. And unfortunately, Mikey got tangled up. So then once that happened, I could just go back to what you were doing, hit your marks. And I forgot to turn my brake bias back down. So it was kind of goofy. It felt, different. And it wasn't until about 20 laps to go that I seen him start catching me. So I turned it back down, and then I had to readjust to what I was doing previously. Fortunately for me, the caution flew when it did. As much as I would have liked to finish under green and, see what would have happened, I can't be more happier that it did come out, because I haven't had any luck in RACECORE yet this year. I think I've had 4 races and I haven't finished one. So to make a statement with a win and, doing it clean the way we did tonight is a big confidence booster for me, that's for sure.
Well, we got to wrap up what might be the longest post-race interview in VRN history, but such a fantastic race, so much strategy going on out there today, different driving styles, just the whole thing, lots to talk about. So I know you got some shout-outs to give there, some people to thank, some sponsors to thank, so have at it, man.
Yeah, I got to thank RACECORE League for even allowing me to be in here. That's first. And I got to thank their sponsors, iRacing Driving World Series, Leo's Coney Island Series, Global Building Contractors, and I got to thank Lake Erie Entertainment for what they give us, and their support. We wouldn't be here without those guys. So big thank you to them. I got to thank you guys up in the booth. You definitely have one of the best broadcasts out across iRacing. It makes it enjoyable after the race. We can go back and watch it and relive some of these crazy battles we have. So thank you for that. And I got to finish with a big thank you to my S2R teammates. We practice week in and week out. We focus on these tracks that we know we can excel at. So big thank you to those guys. Without them, I don't even know if I'd be on iRacing. So with that, I think we can wrap up the interview then.
That's more like a post-race show. We didn't have Jameer here today, so it'll be the Ryan and Jeff post-race show. So congratulations on your victory. It was definitely a statement win. And with that, we're going to send it back down to Charles if he's still awake so he can wrap this thing up.
Barely. We were borderline falling asleep over here. Although that was a good interview, so it did keep us awake. But that being said, it is time for us to thank all of our sponsors as well here for tonight's race. Of course, general partner on board here, Global Building Contractors. And, of course, iRacing Drivers World. And the presenting sponsor here for tonight's series, that is Leo's Coney Island out at Rochester Hills. Make sure you go check them out, get some great food, and let them know you heard about it here on the RACECORE Race on Virtual Racing Network. And, of course, on the broadcast side of things, we want to thank all of our partners. And that is, of course, Wool's Beard Co., Sim Speed Shop, Northwest Racing Series, Ohio IndyCar League, iBog, and of course Randy's Wraps. And that will do it here for tonight's broadcast. We are going to sign off, and we'll see you at the next race.